Welcome to
the Sky Podcast.
Exclusive on Spotify.
All right.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Letters from the Sky. Today's episode, the title is very strong and savage, and medyo natakot ako reading this. Na sana hindi ko matanggap tong letter na to in the future.
From your son?
From my son, because the title is I Hate My Mom. It stresses me out reading that. So she says, I'm going to try to summarize this as much as I can. But she says, about this letter, the title says it all. I hate my mom. Don't get me wrong. I do love her with all that I have. I love her for being such a strong woman, for raising us as her own, for trying her best to provide for all of our necessities, etc., etc. I do love my mom, but at the same time, I hate her. I hate her every time she compares me to someone else's child, and to worse, my friends. Growing up, I never felt confident about how I looked. I have always been a timid girl. I'm always conscious of my actions, my words, especially how I dress. Ang words like, ang pangit ng suot ko, ang taba ko, ang itim ko, di naman babagay sa akin to, sana ganun din ako kagaling magdala ng damit, have always been rounding up in my head until today. Bakit ba hindi? Mula pagkabata hanggang ngayon, mid-20s na ako, my mom's words would always be, ayusin mo naman panamit mo, ang baduy, di ka marunong pumili ng damit, etc., etc., etc.
Wow, dami.
Yeah. And then she says, alam mo yung sinusubukan mong itaas yung sarili mo, tapos sarili mong nanay ang hihila sa'yo pababa. I really apologize for my Tagalog.
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
I know this sounds like a rant, but lagi ko kasing naalala yung sinabi mo sa isang podcast na when you have a kid, tutulungan mo siyang mag-glow up if you had a girl. How I wish my mom had the same mindset as yours. I wish she was as supportive and open-minded as this generation na hindi lang yung maputi at malaki ang puwet ang maganda. Oh my gosh. I love my mom, but when she does this, I get overly sensitive. I've been trying my best to boost my confidence these past years, but isang statement lang niya, guho na agad lahat. And just to add, even her sisters, my titas, low-key do this also, ang toxic. The worst is when she'd compare me to my friends. Dahil sa mga sinasabi niya, sobrang insecure ko to the point na every time makikita kami, nasa isip ko lagi na buti pa sila ganyan ganito. It's unhealthy and I don't want the feeling of being ugly anymore. Lahat ng bibilin kong damit, sobrang doubtful ko kung babagay sa akin. Help.
Tough situation. Ang bigat din.
Yeah.
Ha, sige, you start.
You first. Sakit sa puso ko reading it. Honestly.
Sa akin, I kind of feel like where she's coming from when it comes to people that are parang nasa old ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Like, dati it was fashionable to spank, to like make lait. Like, parang
lait?
normal lang yun na parang, ay, ang itim-itim mo naman, parang maganda ka naman, parang ganyan. Yeah.
We even have like relatives because in Chinese, we kind of make nicknames for each other, right? And then we call like the certain cousin, oh, si Kalbo, si Mataba, si Payat, si ganon. And that was normal back then, but now it's so like, politically incorrect.
Yeah.
Very politically incorrect these days. Yeah. I think we learned through the years to be tactful.
Yes. And I'm sure parang, ito lang masasabi ko. At first, I grew up not having the best relationship with my mom. Hindi naman na ganyan na level siguro, pero parang kami talaga yung cat and mouse, cat and dog sa bahay. Yung palagi kami yung nag-aaway.
Right.
It was because my mom parang mahilig siya mag-control sa akin. Ako, ayaw ko naman magpa-control, etc., etc. But now, growing up and being a parent myself, ito yung na-realize ko, is that we grow up thinking that our mom and dad should be perfect examples.
Yes.
And parang nakakalimutan natin, or from a perspective of a child, hindi natin nakikita na tao lang din sila.
Yes.
Hindi sila Diyos. Hindi sila, they don't know everything. And a lot of the things they do are from habit, from past experiences, and hindi talaga sila perfect. Although, it may seem to us that they should be perfect because they're our parents. Siyempre, when we're growing up, sila yung role models natin, sila yung nakikita natin palagi, sila yung mga iniidolo natin. But even now, as both of us, parang ang dami naman nating parang
Hindi alam.
trial and error, hinuhula lang natin. We still have the best intentions. Of course we do. Pero there's just habits that we can't let go. There's habits na kahit papano, I'm sure, even with the letter sender na, that's what your mom is used to.
Yeah.
That's her growing up was like that also.
Exactly.
So parang ang hirap din. Just to give perspective to where it's coming from. And I also feel like kahit papano, as parents, magiging lacking talaga tayo. Kahit we shower them with love, sasabihin naman ng anak mo na, it's too much love. That's why I don't know how to handle stress. We shower them with challenges in life. Ay, hindi ako tinutulungan. Parang, ang hirap ibalanse and there's no perfect situation for each and every, Syempre, we can say, this is the better way, but more or less pa rin siya. Hindi siya yung parang mathematics na 1 + 1 = 2.
The difference between raising a child today and raising a child back then is because now we have the guidance of the internet or how other parents do it. We can see what's better. We can compare. But before, sa time ng parents natin, wala yun. It's all word of mouth. Ano yung na-experience ko nung bata, what my mom tells me, or how my aunties are. Di ba sinasabi mo sa letter mo that even your aunties are like that? Meaning your mom's siblings. Because they're all raised a certain way. So they think it's normal. It's really hurtful to hear. I get you. I hear you. Because I myself, parang ang sakit pakinggan na ganon. But at the same time, I understand your mom because if I put myself in her shoes, that's all she knows. Diba? And that's what she's used to. And old habits die hard. We can't just give her a book now and expect her to completely change.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, picking up from what you said, parents are really just trying their best to navigate life as well, just like you and me. They don't know everything. They're just people, right? Just like you and me.
Yeah.
Sometimes Slater and I are in a situation where Scotty is like throwing a tantrum or, being difficult. And then we look at each other and then we're like, okay, should we do what we discussed? Option A, option B, or option C? Kasi di rin namin alam what's best.
Paminsan ako, I lose my cool and be very strict with him. And then parang I realize na, mali pala yun. So parang,
and then mabawi siya. Yeah. But that's easier these days because nga, we have a myriad of books to read from, vlogs to watch. We have inspiration. And then these are things that we talk about so openly now. In the past, it was really common. Like, I have a relative na they grew up in the province and then literally they were hung in a sack and tied to a tree.
Yes.
Like, for hours. Iniwan yung bata inside us. Like, today, that would be... Like, call the police, diba? Like, that's what do you call that?
Child abuse.
Child abuse, yeah, exactly. But in those days, they just laugh about it.
Yes.
Or like my mom before, she was meant to, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, she was meant to kneel down on salt and then balance 2 Bibles on her hand for I think, that was wearing her mom's high heels and then nasira yung floor or something as simple as that.
Yes.
Now, if Scotty did that today, I would just mourn the loss of my shoe, and the loss of our tiles. But that's it. I'm never gonna punish him for that because obviously he didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
But that was the norm back then. We have to understand, and this is the norm now. So the parents these days, I feel kind of torn that you're comparing me to your mom. No, sana my mom was like Chris. Na she wants her kid to glow up. Kasi this is the generation we grew up in, where we help each other glow up.
Yes.
Like, this is just my norm, which is completely different from her norm. But
Baka,
it doesn't mean
10
that...
years from now or 20 years from now, iba na naman yung norm.
Yes. And that doesn't mean that I love my son more or my future daughter more, if meron man,
Wow.
than your mom loves you. I'm sure your mom loves you so much. But, moving forward, paano kaya niya ma-resolve to? You think it's possible for you to talk to your mom and tell her, Mom, I really love you and I appreciate, everything that you've done for me, but there are just some things that you say that really hurt my feelings. I'm trying to work on my self-esteem, my self-confidence, but every time you say this, it really makes me feel bad. And I know that sometimes this can be an awkward conversation to have, but sometimes it's these awkward conversations that actually fix relationships. Because when you look at the side of your mom naman, baka hindi rin niya alam na you're feeling that way. Because to her nga, this is all normal, right? Everybody around her does it. Her friends do it to their kids. Her sisters do it to their kids. So akala niya normal lang. Tapos hindi ka nagre-react. So akala niya, ganun lang talaga. Diba? But maybe if you just open up to her in a different way, speak to her the way you normally wouldn't. Let's say, if she says that, normally your reaction would be nag-eye roll ka or nag-walk out ka. Example lang. So try na, what if next time you actually pull her aside, talk to her in her room, na kayong dalawa lang, something that will kind of shock her. If you guys want to hear the full episode, you can. This is different.
Check us out on Spotify.
Must mean a lot to my daughter
Spotify.
because iba yung atake niya this time
It's
around.
free, guys. It's free.
See you there.
Skypodcast.
Skypodcast.